Yeah.
Hello, guys. I apologise for the latest technical mishap. I'm going to point all the blame squarely at Mr. Koala here for bizarrely.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I thought we agreed to lay this on Tiffany somehow. Lie about it
Well,
somehow.
it wasn't
It,
my fault.
it was
No, I said we are going to
delayed
lie. We are
because
going to.
Miss Lockhart was in stitches laughing her head off because of the technical problems that we were having. Where the stream was
Yeah.
getting played again and again through the microphone, and it kept repeating and repeating and repeating. It was like I was having a mushroom experience. And now, in the background of where Mr. Koala is, there's like some bizarre music being played. It's almost like Laurel and Hardy style music, like hornpipes blowing. It's very odd.
It is. It's. I love. I actually like it, but I can't do anything right now. It's like two teenage girls upstairs, and
Oh,
I'm knocking on the door, and then I'm thinking, what do I say to them? So I'm hoping we can get through this, uh, and it's not too distracting. If it is, folks. By the way, I haven't seen any comments come up. Are we sure we're live?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, pretty sure we're live. Guys, can you just check? I love magic mushrooms. That's what it was like listening to that. It was really strange. It was the same sentence that Shin said over and over again, repeated. It was really fucking weird. But anyway, and you just couldn't stop laughing, could you?
No, I couldn't.
But you've calmed down.
And now he's chewing, so it's really good.
No,
Oh,
he's
shit.
not.
Good job. Yes.
I'm not.
You.
What the fuck?
Drinking coffee.
Oh my god. Oh. Oh, Jesus. This is just what we need for a bit of quarantine laughs. Oh, brilliant. Anyway, without further ado, we've been going over the Holy Lornography for the millionth fucking time, the millionth people that have done it. But we've kind of been enjoying it, really, because we've kind of got new information about Lorne and victim number one, about kind of like his predatory behaviour, the fact that he wasn't new to it, the fact that we know he sought out the age of people of Kayla's age for quite a while. So I think it adds another dimension. And of course, when I've done videos in the past, it's usually just me prattling on about it. But to sort of get other people's perspectives is, I think, is really interesting, because obviously I don't have all the answers, and it's great because other people pick up on things that sometimes we've missed. So, yeah. So, without further ado, we were
Andrew,
up to what's up.
I was going to say, if you had all the answers, you'd be teaching rape school. So
That is a ambition of mine. I mean, can you imagine that? Can you imagine being a professor of rape class? I mean, someone's got to chair those meetings, haven't they? What would you put on your job description? Rape teacher.
and how do you measure your performance? I mean, I don't know.
What would you put on your CV? Can you imagine if you was applying for another job? Rape
Rape-
class specialist.
Lorne is actually going to fuck up your career. You can't graduate him. You're a failure.
Oh my god. That's what I mean about the comedy potential of rape class. We're going to have to fucking devise some kind of sitcom or something, because if you could get away with it, man, that'd be funny.
Wes says he wants to teach rape class with a corduroy coat and patches on the elbows. I can see that. I can see that.
Nothing for me today.
No,
I'm a teacher.
no.
Just there'd be like a chalkboard right at the front of the class, and all that's written on in big letters in chalk is no. N-O.
No, that's it.
No, that's it. No, gentlemen. The topic
Kevin,
of today's
is there-
lesson is this one word.
Kevin, is there any circumstances where rape is acceptable? well, that's in situ. No, that's all it is. That's all it is.
But I thought that no.
No, don't think. Just look at this word on the chalkboard here. No. No.
And then you could just picture Lorne back at class like crying. You know what I mean?
Or if it's similar to like an AA class, an AA session. Hi, I'm Lorne Armstrong. I haven't raped anybody in 6 years. Hi, Lorne. It's like maybe they do it like that.
Yeah.
I've been sober for 6 years. I haven't raped anybody for 6 years.
Oh man. Well, yeah, we're gonna have to write a script, aren't we?
Yeah.
Anyway, can you guys see? Have you guys got the chat log in front of you now? Because we're so organised in the stream, aren't we?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, the kind of we've not got that far, and we've done 2 fucking streams that have run about an hour and a half, and the kind of we're getting up to the point where it's introduced sex for the first time, so we're getting to the real meat of the bones now. He's getting into quite excited territory. So we've got the long kind of theme tune in the back as well. Guys, could you let us know in the chat? There's a slight bit of ambience music coming from one of our microphones. We just want to double check it's not distracting in any way.
Yeah. Tell me if I have to get off. That's fine. Okay. All right. So far, nobody's thrown me out.
Yeah, I think it's a theme tune. What do you think, Tiffany? We can have it as Lorne's theme tune.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It works.
Right. Okay.
We can.
Right. So.
It is Connor. It's always me.
Yeah, it is quite funny. It was. Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be more. That particular sentence, I never used to let my nieces go into any chat rooms. I think it's a bit of a clumsy kind of statement, that really. He's saying, well, you shouldn't be in here. He's kind of saying to her, isn't he? But I think he's just trying to make himself look like he was some kind of good protector, isn't he? At first you seem like the protector.
I don't know where he got the authority to order his nieces around and discipline them either.
I don't think he ever did. I think he's just making it up.
Just assumed it. I mean, what if her parents said, yeah, you can go on the internet, and he said no? I mean, who's going to win that argument? Yeah. But didn't we go over... Tiffany said we kind of covered this last time. Isn't this where we left off?
I don't think we got up to this bit. And if we did, we've only gone over that one sentence, because this is where it gets quite interesting for me, because he says here, they used to get mad at me because of it too, lol, because they talk about sex and stuff in them, that's quite a significant statement that he's made, because I believe is that the first time he actually mentions that word?
Yeah, I think.
I think it might be. Yeah.
It's not kind of a bit.
It's his second method, though. His first method was to inquire about boyfriends at school. So he's kind of like, it's not, he didn't use that word, but this is his second attempt at getting in there. Or as Jim Roush would say, finding that one little corner to get her to open up.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get the right signs on here on the screen. Yeah, of course I think it's kind of a little bit. He's on touchy ground, and I think he knows it, because rather than just come out with it and say they talk about sex, he says about sex and stuff. He's trying to generalise it a little bit and maybe not scare her too much. He's trying to test the water a little bit.
Yeah.
And all she comes back with is not even a word, just a letter. So she's actually gone from saying like one word replies to one letter replies.
Wouldn't you think that O is something where it's so ambiguous it can go either way? Well, to me, it seems like it's more of a negative. Oh, well, in that case, I shouldn't be talking to you then. Oh, you didn't tell me that. That's what it feels like. But he just took it as, okay, keep going. And he certainly did. but that O is just so apathetic. It's
Well,
just...
look at these. Look at this section that I've just highlighted here. I don't know if you can see my screen. Just have a quick peek. Look at all that Lorne writes there, and look at what Kayla writes. Y and O. All she's written is 2 letters, and he's really like, it's all him, isn't it? Which is, it's obviously he's having a conversation with himself, which he did for a month, and you know, she, like you said, she comes back with O, which is dismissive. It's kind of sitting on the fence. It bothered me a lot then. Now I've just come to realise it's part of growing up, and he has to put the lol on the end, doesn't he? Which is
but
something
he also did
that we were going to do a full video on that, weren't we?
By the way, that's not her first O either. Her first O, I believe, was when at the very, very top. You don't have to go there. It says, let's see, ASL. Wow. Oh, oh, there it is. Yeah, she did an O before. I'm 36, male, Nashville, right? And then her response is O. So it's like, okay, that can go either way, according to Lorne. 36, he knows she's 13, and whatever she says next, and then, of course, she says Nashville cool. So that O was like an exciting O, not like, oh, I shouldn't be talking to you. And then she does it again. The O. I think that's in the decoy playbook.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you know, we talked about this a lot last time. Like, there's not much effort that the decoy had to do, really. You know, it's kind of like a song that writes itself. This chat log, Lorne just does everything, and she just has to come back with little replies, and he instigates it all and sets up the framework. And you know, I bet they wish.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's just happy to be in the game so far.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%, yeah.
How many times he got shut down? I mean, he went as far as he could with Kimmy, and the other one, and that was basically like a half a page. And he feels like he's winning here. He's got her attention. He hasn't turned her off like he's done to everyone probably. And it doesn't matter what she says now, as long as she's just there. That's good enough for him. That's his validation, the fact that she keeps talking to him. I mean, any other normal person wouldn't talk to him.
I think this is kind of interesting what he says here. I've got it highlighted where he says, I bet they wish I would have felt that way back then, though, after he said it's about growing up. So he's kind of, is he saying that he thinks that his nieces would have liked to have gone in chat rooms and spoke about sex and got involved in that?
Well, that's what he's doing. Yeah.
He's sexualizing his nieces.
Yeah, I mean, can you give me a timestamp on that?
He's psychologically putting them in, you know, in a kind of sexual innuendo kind of thing, isn't he? Do you get what I mean? Because he's kind of saying, well, it would have been good if I'd have let them. If I'd have realised it was just part of growing up, then they could have had fun. It's like,
yeah, and
I think
there's a part down a little later in the chat log where he says something to the effect of, I didn't realize back then it's a healthy part of growing up, or something like that. I think he actually expands on that.
Right.
You know.
Okay,
but we're getting way ahead of ourselves. What's the timestamp that you're on? Because I'm on my own chat log here.
9:58:55.
Gotcha. Okay. Where's Tiffany?
I'm right here.
I'm
listening to you guys.
I think she's trying to listen for me breathing. I mean, chewing rather.
Chewing, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what he's saying here is so creepy. And yeah, I do agree with the whole, it's creepy, obviously, because he's sexualizing his niece's behavior and saying, I should have let them talk about sex. It's a part of growing up, and I could have been there for them for that.
God.
Possibly if they had any questions. But also the fact of him saying that is trying to make it seem like, but it's okay for you to be here. I didn't think it was okay for them at that time, but now I realize it's a part of growing up, and you're growing up too. So
creepy as fuck.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it's another element of what makes the chat log fascinating and disturbing is there's the family element to it. It's like people hate Westerbeck for the fact that he's allegedly abused family members, and that makes him even worse for me. And I know that you've said, Tiffany, we shouldn't rate these people, but of course we all have specific predators that we hate more than others.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I do believe that the sort of malevolence runs deeper in some of them, and if you're abusing family members, I mean, what the fuck? I mean, not that we can't say categorically that Lorne, you know, we're only going off the evidence that we've got here, but it doesn't look good for him, does it? He's mentioning his nieces all the fucking time, and he's sexualizing them in the chat. If you was going to put this to a jury, you'd say you're a creepy motherfucker. You know what I mean? For everything we know about him, it's not good. You know, it's like I said, I don't want to make. We can't say for certain, but if I was going to make a judgment, if I was going to have an opinion, I'd say there's not nice thoughts running around there. You know, it's quite disturbing, really. You know, I just think the boundaries. He doesn't have any boundaries where that's concerned, does he?
None.
Well, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to when it's all about you. It's all about you. Everything about you. You know, I was looking through the chat. I mean, I don't want to get way ahead of ourselves, but everything is about him being pleasured, him having pleasure in touching her sometimes, but more often than not, him being pleasured constantly, over and over and over.
Well, he's trying to satisfy his urges, isn't he?
Yeah, but it's even in that realm. If you can get into that twisted fucked upness, it's really selfish too. I mean, if you think about it.
Yeah,
you know.
The first Mrs. O who's in the chat, and hello, it's always a pleasure to have you here. Has just made a great point. It's something we should kind of touch upon a little bit. Is that don't forget that she said most children abused by family members or close friends of the family. Sad, it's not that rare, and of course I think that is a fact, and it's a disturbing one. It's for obvious reasons, is that these people, you know, it's where they can find the victims easily, isn't it? They can gain the trust, and then they move in. But I cannot. It's difficult to comprehend, isn't it, as people, when someone would abuse that trust. It's kind of the worst thing that a person can do, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's something that you comprehend while you're doing it, and you do it anyway. You know, it's not one of these things where you just, you know, as Lorne would say, out of his mind, or that's actually our Charney. But these are all premeditated acts. These are all acts that are taken on in their minds, even when that person's not in their presence. Almost preparatory. You know, it's, you know, and you know, going to the nieces thing. You know, I really hate to make any statement of fact without knowing for sure, or at least unless I'm totally satisfied about things. But there are certain things we can say about that situation. For instance, we can say that he has absolutely no relationship with his nieces now. We can say that at one point he was close to his nieces. So, I mean, those things are for sure. Now, there's rumors going around that, you know, I don't think there's anything where he had physically done anything or anything like that, but he may have acted inappropriately. And that, you know, it was reported by the nieces or whatnot. But the bottom line is we don't really know what's going on. But those two facts alone, the fact that he was close to his nieces and now they want nothing to do with him, it could be attributed to his NBC appearance. Maybe that could be it. Or they're upset that he was brought into it. But there could be more. But those are facts. He doesn't have a relationship with his nieces now. And they're adult.
Didn't he mention, I remember listening to a call that you were involved with, Tiffany, where I think it might have been the I'm a Predator calls, where he mentions the fact that he doesn't believe some of his family should have turned their back on him. And you said it's something that some people can't forgive. Was he talking about a specific sibling there? Do you know?
He's talking about a few of his siblings, actually. And even other members of his family that maybe he was close to at one point or were kind of around. They're not around him anymore. He doesn't have anybody. I mean, the last time that they had Christmas together would have been 2 years ago, and it was just with Roy and Paul and his mom. So the other brothers weren't there. His sister was not there. None of the grandkids were there. Really, it's nobody. And I have heard also that on other holidays like Easter and things like that, Thanksgiving, if his mom is going elsewhere, then he doesn't have anywhere to go. So he's by himself.
And wasn't there a story where his nieces were in town or something?
His nieces were in town. I believe that it was the Christmas that I was referring to 2 years ago, that they were in town and they did not go and see him. So right. I believe the way that he tells the story is that they did call him, and one of them perhaps was interested in going to say hello, but the other one was like, absolutely not. And, pulled the other sister with her so that they never made contact. So I don't know if that's true or not, as far as them ever having a conversation or.
Well, what is true is he didn't see him.
No, he didn't see him. Absolutely.
So that is true. But his way of possibly mitigating that is to say that one wanted to see me.
Yeah, and certainly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's based on his interpretation too.
Yeah. But the bottom line is they didn't see him. And they traveled from wherever they're living. I don't think they live in Maine, right? So
no, I don't believe so.
Yeah. So, I mean, that to me is something that to me says something fucked up happened. And it could be the NBC thing, though. You never know.
Well, I mean, I don't see what else it could be because, if something had have happened, I think we'd have heard about it, before the sting. And certainly nothing would have happened after it, would it?
Well, here's the thing, though. He talks about his nieces, right? And, in terms of when he used to take care of them, when he used to do that. But he never talks about his nieces in a present relationship sense in this chat log. Like, I got to talk. Yeah, but it's
because he's moved away, isn't it? I mean, he's been out of harm's way of...
No, but I'm just saying that there's no phone relationship. Just like all of his relationships are phone. Let's face it. But, he talks about taking care of his nieces, everything like that. But you would think out of all those 30 days, at one point he would have said, I talked to my niece today. She's doing great, blah, 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 especially since he used that as a grooming tactic. But since that's not true, so my point is it might have happened, or it probably happened, the fallout with his nieces before the NBC thing happened.
I think it's just that he's exaggerating the significance of his nieces in his life. I don't think he's ever had any kind of friendly... I think, this is my belief, that they would have been creeped out by him. And I don't think there would have been a close relationship. The only reason I think he mentions them is to get her on board, to make her think that he's like some kind of safe guy, that's right. Like the protector, and because he's sexualizing them. So I don't think there's been any kind of close relationship ever between Lorne and his nieces. I think them are the only reasons he mentions them.
Well, Tiffany would know that better. I mean, Tiffany, what kind of relationship did he have with them? Didn't they live together?
Well, the way that he makes it sound is that they spent a lot of time there. And he even made mention of him having his own place, and they had their own room.
Right. And their own phone, right?
I don't know about the phone.
Well, that's what he said.
But I just remember the room. Now, the other thing, too, is to keep in mind that he doesn't just have nieces. He has at least one nephew as well. And they were present at the same time the nieces were. And he never talks about them.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point. So do we think that definitely happened where they had their own room in his place? Because that's fucking worrying.
That's what he
Betty
said.
Said that. If you listen to what Betty said also, and again, I don't know if it was the nieces or not, but she once went over to his place, and there was something spray painted on the wall, Uncle Lorne is the boss or something like that. Mm-hmm. Kids were just running roughshod. It was like Lord of the Flies, I guess, in his house.
Mhm.
I don't really know, but he always had an affinity to hang out with kids that age, though. It
He
seems,
did.
you know, he relates to that.
Do
But
we know how old victim? Do we know how old his nieces were when he was fraternising with victim number one, roughly? Do we have a definite timestamp of that?
How old she was? Well, he'll say that she was 15.
No, sorry. Can I just repeat the question?
The
What I
niece's
was
age.
trying to, we know how old victim number one was roughly, either 14 or 15. But I'm just wondering how old his nieces were at the time he was fraternising with victim number one.
I'm not really sure because I don't know how old they are.
Right.
So it's difficult for me to say. I would say probably, either late teens or in their 20s.
Right. Okay.
That's what I think. Because apparently it was in Washington when he was hanging out with him, right?
Yeah, that's where they were living.
Okay, and victim one, victim one wasn't until Maine.
Correct.
So it's hard to figure out if there's an overlap for that. First of all, his whole timeline is fucked up.
we know that, dude.
but I have my theory is based on the evidence that he had a fallout with his nieces before the sting.
Right. I mean, so you're basing that just on the fact that he doesn't mention them in the present tense?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the reason why I think he doesn't mention them in the present tense is because they're not Kayla's age anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just going to say. He can't fantasize about them like he wants to anymore.
I didn't even think of that. But you would think that, continuing a relationship with somebody would kind of make Kayla feel more safe with him, Oh, from the young age all the way to adults, we're still great friends, But then again, that's too complicated. But I think you're right.
No,
she was
you're right.
only interested when they were 13.
Yeah, and a normal person would still have, a relationship with them, some kind of relationship with them forever. There was one question the first Mrs. R asked, which is something we've talked about before, but don't know whether you saw it, Tiffany. She was asking you a question in the chat of what do you think, and we have spoke about this before, actually. I can't remember when. What will happen to Lorne if Mother Gwen would go into heaven before Lorne? Well, Lorne's not going to heaven, but if she passes away before Lorne does, which is obviously likely, what will happen to Lorne's life?
Well,
hold on a sec. Excuse me, pedo gravy. I was just about to agree with you guys, and I'm sorry to make you stick a pin in that for a second. But Pedo Gravy just came out with another reason why I think he had a problem with his nieces, and he was trying to communicate with them but couldn't. The log off thing on MySpace. When he tried to send a message to him, and funny, they just logged off. Right after that. That's kind of a good piece of evidence right there. He tried to have a relationship with them, and they're just ignoring him.
I didn't know that happened.
Yeah, is that further along in the chat? We'll get to that. I'm
yeah,
not sure.
Remember it?
I don't remember.
It was kind of funny. He thought it was because MySpace was slow and people logging off. That was his excuse.
But the fact that he tried to would say that he's probably not done anything that vile because he wouldn't even bother, would he? I mean, he wouldn't. You know what I mean? Even he wouldn't be that stupid. Well, actually, maybe he would, but the evidence would suggest that if he'd done something and there was a massive problem between them, he wouldn't even try and contact them. You know what I mean? They probably just caught him staring at their ass, and he doesn't know they saw him or something like that. Maybe. Who knows?
Well,
we'll never know.
I think the first thing is that, people can have relationships with their abusers into their adulthood, especially if they're family members, and they, it's a very complicated type of a situation for someone to have to go through, especially when it's not reported or if the family doesn't believe you or something like that. They may not, I think that there's guilt involved, probably, some loyalty as well as it being a family member, and they're scared or whatever. So, I think that if something were to have happened, them having a relationship later on may not be as unheard of as it would seem. Because it seems like, oh, if somebody had hurt me as a child, I wouldn't want anything to do with them. But sometimes that's not how things work.
Well, again, I agree with you. What if it was reported? Not to the authorities, but to family members, and it was out, and the nieces didn't get believed or whatever. I mean, that kind of explains it too. I would agree if it wasn't reported, they would still have a relationship with their abuser. But what if they had already reported it to a family members or something? That would explain there being no relationship anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're feeling our way around in the dark here.
Yeah. So you think there's a possibility he's actually physically done something to them?
No. Well, I can't say that.
Personally, I don't think so. That's just like an inclination that I have. But I think certainly we can get into the idea that he had improper thoughts. He was noticing them growing up. He would have noticed their bodies changing. He would have been interested. The whole, we're going to get into it too with the shorts story. But, he brings that whole scenario up. But then when it was brought to his attention, he said that wasn't true and it never happened.
Yeah, it was shoplifted. It was essentially, it was thrown into the carriage. He didn't even know.
No, he said that never even happened.
Yeah, but to be fair, he said that about virtually the whole fucking chat log, didn't he?
Well, he's got three different versions of that story. I can't figure it out.
But if it was something that was really innocent and he wanted to explain that, he would have said it was innocent. This is actually what happened. But he's saying that never happened. There was never shorts or anything like that. They never asked him permission, like anything like that. It never came up.
Well, that kind of like, one of the things about Lorne in this chat log, in terms of how he speaks about himself and in terms of what credit I can give him, is he's totally honest about who he is. He's not saying he's a rich guy. He's not saying he's a.
I've thought that before,
but that issue is pretty important. The stuff that's pretty important. He's not very honest about. It's kind of disappointing, because most of the stuff that he was really honest about, most of us would lie about.
Yeah, exactly. It's strange, isn't it? It's. So I did actually bring that up as a kind of trying to find some kind of positive trait that Lorne possessed, and I thought, well, maybe he's like frank and honest, because he does open up quite a lot to Kayla during this chat log, but. With regard to, someone said it isn't any positive trait. The reason he's not bullshitting is because he doesn't think he'll get away with lying about certain things. But of course, there's lies that are inherent through every, talking about the relationship with his nieces, saying he's there to protect her, all this kind of stuff. It's all bullshit, isn't it? He's just saying what he thinks that she wants to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just get back to the question that Mrs. R asked? This might sidetrack us a little bit, but I think it's a fun. Well, I don't mean fun as in I wish death upon someone, but it's an interesting, is probably the better word, question to theorise upon. Is that what will happen to Lorne when his mother is no longer there to support him emotionally? She's not going to be there, and more significantly for him, financially as well. I mean, what the fuck is going to happen to him? Because
absolutely,
the one proverbial teat that he's suckling on is disappeared. What the fuck is he going to do?
Yeah. I don't know.
Else. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I did respond to the first Mrs. R as well, just very briefly.
Oh, did you? Sorry, I didn't see.
Yeah,
that.
no, it's fine. I think it's one of those topics that you can talk about because their relationship is really interesting. I think when she passes away, he's going to be devastated, and not necessarily in the sense of losing a parent, as most of us would feel, but I think I think that just like what you were saying, he's losing his financial lifeline, and like Rhoda is just talking about, he'll still have Aunt Sharon. So she's probably going to take more of the mother role when Gwen departs us. But I think also, just imagine the way that he will act in that type of a situation. It was really interesting when his father passed away. He virtually had no reaction to it at all. And I thought that he was going to play it up pretty significantly, because that's his opportunity to do that.
Oh, yeah.
That definitely happened, by the way.
It did.
Did it happen on your watch, Tiffany?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And it didn't really, nothing ever came of it. Because like he said, he doesn't have a relationship with his dad, but also no one else did either. So I think that if his siblings had gone to his funeral, Lorne would have gone too. But when it comes to his mom, he's going to be absolutely devastated. But their relationship is really interesting, and I would love to go on and on about it, because you hear him talking on the phone to her, and the way that he speaks about her as a person, she is angelic. She has been through a lot of shit in her life, and he is going to protect her. He's going to come back at anybody who talks any shit about her. He's going to be very much into that. So I think on the flip side to that is what you hear from her is she's just kind of, I love you. And then she just hangs out. Okay, bye. And then also the fact that he doesn't spend any time with her. She doesn't live far away.
Yeah.
He calls her every morning, allegedly. But that's what he has said. He calls her every morning. And that's like his check-in. So he's like, okay, check that off my list. I took care of mom today. I'm showing her that I love her, but he doesn't spend any time with her at all. So I don't really know. I think actually what the first Mrs. R said, I don't think he really loves or likes either of his parents. I don't think that he does either, but he thinks that he should. And so I think he's looking at the textbook version of what does a child think about their parent. And so I think he's looking. I'm hearing an echo.
That was me. Sorry.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I think that he just really believes, okay, I'm supposed to love my mom. My mom is supposed to be the most important person in my life. So that's what he's going to project. But I don't think he feels it either. I think that he would, if you think about it, when he was speaking to her about her car, he didn't want to bring her car back. That was hers. She had to basically tell him to bring it.
That's what
he'll want to.
That's what he'll miss.
Yeah, he'll miss all the support that she has given him. She's the one who showed up at court. She's the only one. She has provided for him financially. She was always someone that he can go to for money. He has no problem taking anything from his mother. Food, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. You know what? The more that you're talking about his attitude towards his mum, it's sickening. I mean, we saw it firsthand, didn't we, Shin, when we was at the hearing, and it's like I've said, it was so symbolic that the only person that was sat on the entire side of that courtroom was his mother. Nobody else was there.
Sharon was in the courthouse. Sharon was in the courthouse.
Yeah, and she didn't even go into the room.
And later, but it's
only there
because
we saw Mother Gwen get into the car with Sharon, didn't we?
Yeah, well, yeah, and there was a third person too, but Sharon was there in the courthouse, and she could have testified too, but she elected to give a letter instead, which is fine. You can do that, but makes you wonder if you really care about the person, why wouldn't you give a plea to let him go?
And it's like one of the things that got us quite mad, even though I was in stitches for the majority of that last quarter of the court hearing, to see his mother go up there and him make her read that out, it kind of sickened me a little bit. I really thought, he's just got no shame, that motherfucker, has he? Do you know what I mean?
Well, you know what he did? He used it to catapult his emotions. You know, if you notice, one of the first things he said, I think it was the first thing he said when he spoke, was, "I wish I had gone before my mother, because it's really hard now." And by the way, it's not like his mother said something that was so profoundly sad or powerful or anything that would make anyone cry.
Well, ironically, he got her to do that, and it had no bearing on the case at all, did it? I mean, you would know,
No.
and I would suggest that had no bearing on the judge's decision whatsoever, did it?
No, well, not only that, but again, it's the issue about him using her to catapult his own emotions about his how much he loves his mother and how that much makes him a good guy, and therefore he should get a little more consideration here, because whatever it is he was trying to do from the court. So in other words, he was telling the court, Your Honor, if your emotions weren't moved by this, then mine are, just so you know. And all he wants them to know is not necessarily that it was an emotionally moving speech. It was just that he was affected because he loves his mother so much. That's all he wanted them to know, and that's in that statement. I wish I went ahead before my mother did. I mean, there's nothing she said that was tear-jerking. Nothing. He takes care of his dogs. It was
all scripted, wasn't it? It was just something that he'd written. There was the thing is, what was significant about that as well is there was no emotion behind what she was saying. She was just reciting it. She didn't believe what she was actually reading, and you could actually sense that. So it was just like a bad actor was getting up there reading some lines. If she'd have got up there and broke down in tears and, my Lorne, he's been through this, he's been through that,
exactly.
It's my fault, I was a terrible mother, please don't judge him. There was none of that. It was just reciting shit that he'd wrote. And the way he kind of looked at her as she did it. And do you know what was interesting? It's only just come back to me. I remember him turning his head towards her as she walked up to the stand. And it wasn't a look of kind of like, regret or shame for what he was doing. It was a look of, right, here's my mum to save the day.
Pride. It was like, let me help. Nobody wants to help this lady walk up to the podium. Well, it was almost like he wanted to pop out of his chair if it wasn't for his shackles. It was almost like why isn't anybody else seeing what needs to be done here? And then it was concern, pride. It was a lot of things. It was like somebody giving a great review on a real bad play. You don't understand if you saw the same thing as they did. I just don't understand it. But with him, he used that even further to ignite his own emotions. And again, it wasn't about, oh, what a powerful thing she said. It was about, see how I feel about my mother. And nobody else could relate to that because there's nothing his mother said that was other than what Amanda James just said. Talks about the burden of him being in jail, how important it is that he's out so that he can take care of his own stuff. That's pretty much what it was. Mm-hmm. And in terms of where she got the substance to write, I think maybe one line in there, something about the freezer being paid off because you won the lottery or something or whatever it was, that bullshit. That might have been her only thing, or the hands-free thing, But I can imagine him reminding her of this too, or she's reading it for the first time, going, "Oh shit, that never happened," but I'll say it anyway. I can imagine. But anyway, there was nothing she said that was moving, that was persuasive for the court.
Well, she didn't. Well, like I said, it was written by him. And she didn't believe what she was reading. Of course, there's going to be nothing moving. There's no genuine situation happening there. It's just nonsense, But we have spoke about this before, haven't we, guys? About his relationship with his mother. It's very interesting. And what I've noticed from people like Lorne, these sort of, empathy fucking devoid criminals, the criminally insane. They all have an over-exaggerated sense of affection towards the mum, and it's quite interesting. Like, you know, he's a great example of it, and there's many reasons, like you said, that you know he relies on her. She's the only person who does anything for him. But I think there's more to it than that. I think he uses her as an emotional punch bag as well. In that call with Ramona, where he's going, right, let Ralph and Laurie are pieces of shit. The way he talks to her is fucking disgraceful. I know he's had a couple of beers at the time, but I wouldn't even dream of talking to my mum like that. I just haven't got it in me.
That's a different relationship. I mean, she kind of has a potty mouth too that my mom wouldn't really. It would be weird if my mom's use F-bombs.
I'd be quite disturbed if that.
I've never heard my mom use an F-bomb before, you know. But that's the kind of relationship they have. So that's kind of hard to account for what's going on. But when it really, when everything was on the line, when his freedom was on the line, that was when she needed to show the best part of their relationship, and it fell flat. Except for Lorne, he thought it was, you know, the most emotional thing that this court has ever heard. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
Fucking hell, that was funny.
By the way, just going back to the question about, Mrs. R's question about what will happen to Lorne, I think my quick response to that would be, I think that he will mourn. But I don't think it'll be, you know, the kind of the same thing. That I think there'll be an element of it that he'll miss her, you know, that he loved her and all that. But I think for the most part, he'll probably make a big production about it. And I think that what he really will be missing is all of the things that she said in her statement, taking care of this for him, taking care of that for him, things like that. That's essentially where his grief will be, I think. But you're right, Tiffany. If he really loved his mom, he'd be over there landscaping for her, doing everything he can to make her life. He's got plenty of time, I assume, but you know, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't spend any time over there with her. And so it's all bullshit. It's all about illusion, and he thinks that women, you know, one big question for women, you know, is how does the man treat their mother? You know, because kind of one of those cosmopolitan quizzes things, you know, and he thinks he checks off that list. Do they love animals? Checks off that list too. You know, it's just lip service.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole stream on Lorne's relationship with his mother, maybe another time, because it is quite interesting. It was a bit of a sidetrack, but it was a good question, so I thought it was worth exploring for a little bit. But if we can get back to the chat log, he's asking, he's not getting any responses at all, as we've already said. All he's had is a Y, an O, and a lol. You know what I mean? There's fuck all else going on here, is there? So, you know, he's trying to. I wouldn't say he's trying to like get to know her because he's not interested. I just think he's just trying to stimulate her a bit more by asking her basic questions of what you would do. What are you into? You know, I don't think there's anything more to it than that. You know.
Yeah, I think he just wants to get her talking.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah. I know, right?
I think that's the longest sentence this has actually come out with so far. Hang out with friends like at the mall. And go shopping. I love shopping. So we're actually getting somewhere here. We're actually establishing some kind of character. Not that it's particularly interesting or surprising, is that a 13-year-old girl enjoys shopping.
Right.
But at least Lorne has got something to cling on to. In other words, he could use it to his advantage maybe and say, I'll take you shopping, blah, blah, blah. Lol, and then you're definitely a girl. I mean, that's just a cracking line there, Lorne. I mean,
it was so stupid.
Such a devil with the ladies. Just excuse me one second.
Yeah, but he falls. He even fucks that one up. You know, well, yeah, I'm a girl. You know, you would think that you start out that like, well, what do you like doing at the mall? Where do you go shopping? Well, look, I'm not going to give pedophile lessons here, but you know, go into an obvious question. You know, that follows what she had said, and then he's turning it back into, you're definitely like, only girls like to shop. I don't know. It's just stupid where he goes with that. He gives her something, she gives him something, and then he makes nothing out of it.
But yeah, because he doesn't really care. He's just,
I know.
and he has to put lol on the back of everything. It's really
Yeah, the
stupid.
lulls are coming hard and fast now.
Yeah.
They are, aren't they? I mean, let's talk about that a little bit. I don't think there's anything to that, that psychologically groundbreaking that we're going to get into with the laws. I think it's just a way of him. He's just trying to cover up everything he's saying. It's just, just trying to make fun of everything and protect himself and keep everything light-hearted. And I think it's what he thinks it's a good way of communicating with someone of that age that is making light heart of anything.
Well, again, I kind of have I was thinking about this, and Tiffany, I'm curious about your opinion about it. When he speaks normally, he does lulls in a way. It's always like inappropriate laughter. It doesn't sound forced. It sounds very natural. It's part of his, if you want to call it whatever he's got for charisma. He's got that friendliness aspect to him. He's always laughing. So the question I have is, every time he's lulling here, is he actually doing that? Is he laughing himself?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he's actually sitting there giggling.
Well, no, in his head. In his head, he's probably smiling.
He's probably smiling. Yeah, I think.
Oh, he's definitely smiling.
Yeah, I think he's just like what Andrew said. He's just trying to keep it light, like, oh, this is fun. This is fun talking to me. I lull all the time.
Just kidding. Is that right? It's like saying just kidding.
Does he laugh a lot? Does he laugh in the phone calls with Kayla?
Oh yeah.
Oh, he is. Oh my God. I don't think he stopped smiling for a single second during that. Yeah, he's giggling. Yeah.
I can't believe the boys are such idiots at your school.
There we go.
There we are. Just a little. That's the first time I've listened to one of them in ages, and it's made me really giggle. In fact, let's just put a little bit more on.
Okay.
That was a long.
I guess so. You're not though. Thank you.
Those are lulls.
Okay, sing to me.
Oh God.
Right, let's not go there.
Oh, yeah, exactly. By the way, I should say something. I think out of all the times we've ever heard him sing, and I'm asking your opinion about this too, I think that was his best performance in terms of it sounding the best. That the I loved her first.
Hard, though,
everything else was downhill. Everything else was downhill. He was a one-hit wonder. What do you guys think? Is that the best he's ever sounded?
Probably it's probably because it came from the heart. He's actually trying to woo a girl, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, the other songs, like when he would leave me voicemails, he was always screaming with his singing, and that's what made it funny. But yeah, as far as seriously singing, at that point too, he was sort of, I think, singing more because he was doing the karaoke thing while he was down there.
Yeah, his voice was warmed up a little bit.
Yeah, and now he's not doing that, well, he hasn't in a long time. So, when he was leaving the voicemails, he's just, screaming.
I wonder if he had a few rehearsals before he laid that down.
No, I think it was just something that he's probably, that would be a really weird thing to sing at karaoke too, but
I know.
But he definitely could have.
Well, yeah. I don't know when Heartland when that hit was big for Heartland. Maybe it was around that time or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It could have been a popular song at that point.
Yeah, it could have been.
What a weird song to pick. Anyway, I think he just went on the melody. All right, where are we? So
he says, "You're definitely a girl, lol," and then she says, "Well, yeah, I'm a girl with no lol on the end of it." So, he's probably, she's getting a bit snappy, and and he comes back with, "I mean, because you love shopping," and there's the customary lol on the end of it, and then she comes back with, Oh yeah, lol, and then just a lol for the sake of it. What do you usually buy when you go shopping? Let me guess, clothes. Lol. Well,
What a stupid question. I'm
I
already
know. He's like,
annoyed.
what a
I'm so
moron.
annoyed with him. Yeah, he's really annoying.
Like, what does she expect? I mean, what does a teenager buy? But what's weird is, again, there's always a story in the timestamp. In this case, the last thing she said was 15 seconds before. What do you usually buy when you go shopping? He's probably out of anything to say at that point, or at least the angle he wanted to go, where he was trying to. Oh, you're a girl. All women like to shop. Oh my God, here's my credit card. Go ahead, honey. That kind of thing. Whatever he's got going on there.
Yeah.
And then that falls flat, and so he decides to go the normal route here. What do you usually buy when you go shopping? Let me guess. And by the way, she's not responding right away, and she doesn't respond from her first response. But at some point, I don't think he gives a shit. It's 28 seconds between the time that he put four statements out there that were unresponded before she finally did. And then he's talking to himself. Did you see me sneeze? Okay, now he's totally running out of things to say. Lol. Okay. But what do you make of this? I mean, he's boring as shit, number one.
Yeah. Well, he's just trying to keep her on the line.
And let's give him a little bit of leeway because he's not getting a lot back from her, is he? It's not a engaging conversation, so his little brain can only muster. I mean, there's not much going on. There's not much neural activity going on in there. So the most he can muster is, oh, what do you buy when you go shopping? And there's just look at this page here and what we get back from Kayla. Oh yeah, lol. Yeah, lol. Oh, sorry. And she doesn't even say words like in full. She's got to abbreviate everything, So he's struggling, but it doesn't bother him, does it?
It doesn't. He keeps moving. He's just happy to be in the game. I'm telling you.
He's going on about sneezing. I think I'm coming down with a cold. It's like, what the fuck are you going on about, man?
Well, that's a different. He just changed the subject. He went from mall. First of all, he kind of like, I don't know, considered sexist or not, but saying that only women like to shop, I guess, or young girls like to shop. It's kind of like an old traditional thing that he threw out there. Realize that's going to that's falling flat. So then he gets into the, I got nothing else to talk about. Let's talk about an actual observation that's going on right at this very second. I'm sneezing. That's about it. Like one of those guys that narrate everything they do.
Well, he's got nothing else. If you think about it, if you are talking to somebody of your own age in this scenario, you'll talk about common interests. The conversation would hopefully naturally flow. He's got nothing in common with a 13-year-old girl, obviously, and one would certainly hope not. And he's not getting anything back from her, so he's babbling on about his fucking chest cold that's still been hanging on to him a little bit. He even mentions it in the phone call. And now, so I'm guessing that you don't want to take my cold for me, lol. Fucking hell, man. It's like, if I was the decoy, I'd just like, you know what, just let this guy go. I'm not talking to this motherfucker for a month.
Fucking hell. I love that. Well, the other thing is he's really trying to, like, I hate to say it, but Jim Roush said it the perfect way, trying to get that corner in there to get her to open up. He succeeds. He finally starts to flirt with her. Finally, with the cold thing. That worked. Well, at least to show how witty he was or whatever he's trying to do. But she's talking more now. So the sneezing theme led to the cold theme, which led to the... I hate the way he says this. He always says the same thing. So I'm guessing that. I hate that. Or I'm thinking that, or whatever he's saying. You don't want to take my cold from me. I'll give you $5 if you do. Did she respond to that, by the way? No, she didn't. So he continues with the $5. And then what? I can't quite read that. What time do you usually go to bed? Okay, so and then she finally responds to this earlier subject. He's going too fast for her.
Um, what do you mean he's going too fast for her? Because he's
Well, if
not
you look
getting
at,
anything.
he's not giving her a chance to answer.
Yeah, there's 5 seconds. No, I don't want your call, thank you. Lol. And then usually at about 10 or 11. That's only 12 seconds later. Wow, you stay up late. Does she? Okay. I'm supposed to be in bed by 10, but I sneak sometimes. Lol. Lol, naughty girl. She's quite. Even that little lol there will have pleased him because it means that she's. Because everything up until that point has been quite sharp replies, hasn't it? There's not been any hint of that she's enjoying the conversation. So if she's saying lol, then he's thinking, oh, fucking hell, I'm getting something here because, he's got fuck all before. And then he comes back with a lol himself and then naughty girl. He's trying to maybe stimulate the rebellious side of her for his own advantage, maybe.
Yeah.
So I'll give him that. That's quite clever because, some girls at that age, they want to be rebellious and, he's kind of hoping that, I think he wants the submissive girl, but if whatever it takes for him to get what he wants, I think he'd be happy with, whether it means some kind of rebellious girl or, some kind of victimized girl or abused girl. I don't think he really cares, at all.
And he likes the fact that she's defying authority, her parents. Yeah. I think there's a certain element to that where he can see now he could spend some time and get her to spend more time with him, even if that means defying her parents' demands. He likes that. He likes the fact that she's not under their total control.
Yeah, of course, because it means that he's got a chance of getting what he wants. Because if she was under lockdown all the time, and what would he'd be wasting his time, wouldn't he?
Or more importantly, if she complied with the lockdown. If she was complying with all the rules, it's her decision not to be controlled, which is what he wants. She wants, and he's interpreting that as she wants me to control her now, or that's in his own fucked up mind. That's what he thinks where this is going. I like the fact that you don't accept the total control from your parents. That's good. That leaves you ripe to my influence.
Well, I think, too, that this has something to do with how he feels about himself and how he wants someone else to think that he's important. So if she's staying up after she's supposed to be in bed, then he's going to say, wow, you must really like me to be staying up this late.
That's a good one, too.
Type of a thing.
Yeah. Everything applies to him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm guessing that you must have a computer in your bedroom then, huh? And that's an important question, isn't it? Because obviously...
That's a very important question, yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to know, is anybody around that's going to see what I want to do?
Yeah, of course.
Or is there a chance that I'm going to be able to see you too? Because if you remember when he's talking about victim number 1, at first her computer was in sort of like a hallway that was attached to the kitchen, and her parents were in the kitchen. There wasn't anybody around, and he was able to get her to flash him at that point.
Yeah.
But I think at another time, probably during their conversation, she talked with him about getting the computer in her bedroom, because I know at one point the computer was definitely moved to her bedroom. And I think that's where a lot of the stuff happened. So he's going to want to know where it is right now.
But when it was in the hallway, though, she still flashed him.
She did, but he, of course, if she's in the bedroom, then they can do other things.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. That's why you only got the tip of the iceberg on that story.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And the thing is, when she flashed him when it was in the hallway.
You're chewing again, dude.
All right.
He's been chewing the whole time. You haven't noticed? Yes, you have.
Okay. So anyway, before she flashed him, she took a look down the hall to make sure nobody was looking. I mean, that's the kind of risks that he was willing to accept.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Get tired.
So,
Okay.
so we move on a little bit. We don't get, she says, yeah. She confirms that she's got a computer. And then, have you seen the responses that he gives here? Three separate messages within the space of 30 seconds without any response from her. He's obviously really pleased by that, isn't he? Lol. Lol. I mean, what the fuck does that mean?
What does that mean? Uh-oh. Oh, that's uh-oh. That's
Is he actually jizzing in his pants at that point?
Yeah. That's uh-oh.
So you weren't going to sleep with the person who was there?
That means you get extra tired in the morning. What is so funny about that?
Nothing.
What?
Yeah, there's nothing.
What?
There's nothing deliberately funny about Lorne. It's all accidental, let's be honest. He wouldn't make a stand-up comedian, would he? Well, he kind of would, but it'd be like Tommy Wiseau-style comedian.
Oh, he'd be hilarious. But you'd have to, in order for the audience to get it, you'd have to give his entire biography. And then put him up there.
Yeah, and make him wear a T-shirt that says, "Don't yell at me, I'm sensitive."
God.
On the back, current sales, 0.
Uh-oh. I can imagine. That's so creepy. Uh-oh. You're a bad girl. You're a naughty girl. Okay. That means you get extra tired in the morning.
Yeah.
Weird. It's weird.
Yeah, I assume, it's like, you're right, it's not funny. He thinks in his head that she's staying up all night talking to people on the internet. What? And even the decoy's like, I'm sensing that the decoy's thinking, this guy is a fucking moron. I'm like, what are you fucking talking about, you prick? Listen, what? Just one word, what? And then she's thinking, oh, I'm being a bit of a bitch here, and I best keep him on the hook. And then she throws out the customary lol just to keep him. Just to keep him there, because she's just getting pissed off with him already. Even the decoy can't be fucking ass with him. You fucking.
Do you think she has a live? Do you think she thinks she has a live one here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. Because look
He's
at
giving off all the signs,
talking.
isn't he?
Yeah, and he keeps engaging with her even when she's not responding. So yeah, she definitely has a live one.
And he's talking to her more like an adult sometimes a teacher student kind of thing. It's really weird. And the thing about boyfriends, right away they probably have those red flags. Okay, here's one right here. He's talked about my ex-boyfriend or whether I have a boyfriend. Why would anybody who doesn't have that design ask that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my daughter, I would say, hey, is there a new guy in your life? That's a little different. It's or I'm not interested in her friends, whether they have boyfriends or not.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what time do you wake up in the mornings? What is it? Is he just trying to get? I think he's just trying to find out more about what her daily routines are, so he can try
block
and.
Off his time.
Sorry.
So he could block off his time.
Yeah, well, I think he's just trying to find out as much about her as possible, and then he can move in and do what he wants to do. I think it's all about, it's like reconnaissance, isn't it? He's just trying his best to get as much intelligence as he can, and she's right. So he's established so far. She's got the computer in the room, so there's privacy. She's not too familiar. She's not been. It doesn't seem that she talks about sex, so that's positive for him because he wants to introduce her to it. She goes shopping. All the boys at school are not interested in her, but he likes the look of her. She's quite submissive. Everything's going really well for him at this point, isn't it? So it's like he's trying to get this picture in place so that he can make his move and plan his crime.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And this, what time do you wake up in the mornings? And then she says about 6. Do you always sneak online after you're supposed to go to bed? So in other words, can he stay up fucking doing whatever he wants to her, and how much time is he going to be able to get? You see, this is quite important, this, because if you think about
I think so.
is he already planning long term? In other words, does he know in his brain at this point, right, that in order to get what he wants out of somebody like Kayla, it's going to be a long, drawn-out situation. He's not going to be able to do it within a couple of days. It's going to be a long process of grooming. And in order for him to do that, he's going to need long periods of being online. Like, what time do you get up in the morning? Oh, 6 o'clock. Do you go online? He wants to know if she goes online when she gets up. Does she always stay online at night? How much time is he going to get? In other words, is it a very complex thought process? Is he thinking, right, am I going to be able to get enough time to groom this girl, or is it not worth bothering with? Do you get what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I don't think it's that complex either. I think it's more innate with him. I think he's, if anybody even had a sneaking suspicion about what he's doing, he's not the most subtle guy in the world. So anybody could figure it out what he's doing when it comes to that. But no, this is him just instinctively figuring out what his windows of opportunities are, availability is, and with him, he's got that one job we know about, telemarketing or whatever it is, and it's kind of got weird hours, and he ends later at night than he wants to. So if you look at it from his schedule, the earlier the better. Early morning would be good if she was available, and obviously, since he's going to be on a little later, since because of his job, it would be nice to know that she snuck online against her parents' wishes anyway. So he's kind of, he's kind of inserting his own schedule into his questions here. That's just my opinion.
I don't think he had that job yet here.
Really?
Yeah, he starts it after a week or so, doesn't he? I think.
Yeah.
He
Because
starts
something
during
like
the
I
chat
went
log,
and
think.
applied for a job. I went out and applied for a job today, so I got a job. I remember that part. And then he says, "But you're not going to like it though because here are my hours." So yeah, he's not working at this point.
I got some bad news for you, honey.
Right.
Sit down. You're gonna have to sit down now.
Exactly.
She took it really hard, Lorne. She took it really hard.
Yep.
And then she comes back and confirms that she does sneak on the internet after she's supposed to go to bed. Lol, I'm quiet, which is obviously good news for him. You make sure the volume is down and everything, lol. I mean, is he covering his tracks already at this point?
Yes. Yeah, he wants to make sure she's not going to get busted.
Yeah.
Well, he wants to see what her already. Again, he's not advising her to do anything, but she's. He just wants to see her security measures.
Yeah.
How's she doing it? And how can I measure my own conduct with what she's doing, or how can I insert my own conduct? That's what I think that is. And of course, he'll suggest things later, like get a lock on the door and things like that. But sorry, that was a spoiler alert.
I think everybody knows.
Yeah, I don't think it's the biggest spiral in the world.
No.
This is interesting. This is your first time you've ever been in a chat room, and it's like he's not asking a question. He's kind of telling her that this is the first time, and I think call this overkill, but that's what we do in these scenarios. I think he wants to believe this is the first time she's been in a chat room so much that he's actually telling her rather than asking her a question. Because the normal way you'd ask a question is this the first time? Not this is your first time you've ever been in the chat room? Question mark.
No, he asked her that before. He's just asking her again. Yeah.
But all of his questions are leading anyway. They always presume an answer. I'm guessing that this is the way you feel. He doesn't ask a normal question. I'm surprised you didn't put, I'm guessing this is your first time ever been in the chat room. But you're right, Tiffany. I think he went through this before.
Yeah, he did ask her
Oh,
before.
right, okay. Forgot that
Yeah.
Yeah, you go in there lots. You go in there lots. Is that a question to
Yeah.
him? Right.
Yeah.
You go in there lots. Yup. When I don't have anything else to do. I'm surprised you
Yeah.
didn't put a lol on the end of it then.
Here's his first lie. Okay.
How do you like the chat room so far? That's a good question. Lol. I haven't looked at it. Right. Well. Okay. I don't really understand. I haven't looked at it. She's in one now.
Well, I think that he might have messaged her pretty quickly. So I think because he says too busy concentrating on me.
There you go. That's right. That line was hidden, and Tiffany got it right. It's exactly what he wanted.
Yeah.
So was he asking that question to determine whether she was only focusing on him?
Could have been, but also wanted to see if she was paying attention, because remember he was saying, did you ever see anything that makes you say, wow, are you paying attention to the chat? Because they say some sexual things in there. So again, he's asking her, do you like hearing about sexual things, or do you notice the things that they're saying in there? Mm-hmm. And she's saying no. And of course he takes that, oh, you must be talking to me. And that's it.
Yeah, out of all the reasons in the world.
Right. And he poses that as a question, lol, so that she could say, oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's not like she established any affection for him. It's not like all she did was just say hi and yes and goodbye and everything else. I mean, there's nothing there to suggest that suddenly they have some kind of a spark, or that she has some kind of an interest in him or anything like that.
Yeah.
So he's manufacturing things out of whole cloth by looking at a circumstance and saying, well, you must be, you could be doing all these things in the world, but you're talking to me. Mm-hmm. That says something, doesn't it? That's so
definitely.
Creepy. So fucking creepy.
And then he wants to know, has anyone else sent you a message besides me from the chat room?
Divide and conquer.
Where's he said that?
Oh, he said, I jumped ahead. Sorry.
I looked at it, too busy concentrating on me. No, actually you didn't. It looks like dumb stuff, she said.
Yeah, I don't think we've missed anything significant. I'll allow you on this occasion to jump ahead without me, but...
wait a minute. Looks like dumb stuff. How did he approach that? How did he take that? I think he took that in a good way. That is, that it didn't shock her or scare her.
Well, I think too, she's not really paying attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
So when he says, have you read any of it? No, I'm looking at it now. Has anyone else sent you a message besides me from the chat? And he's going to love her response. Yeah, but I closed them.
Lol.
So they must, lol. When you have nothing else to say lol. But then that she must have seen something perv. She must have seen that word perv. Yeah. And that's where he's like, okay, cool. Let's start talking about sex.
Oh,
that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
Well, this is where he blames the entrapment. This is where the one line in the entire chat log that he blames that he was entrapped by her saying that line.
Do you know what this reminds me of? That video that Crank Cinema did where, was it Lorne's, what was it? Cringiest moments, and he goes, petitioner asked what a pervert was, and it's like...
Yeah. I love Crank, man. Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, I got to step away for 2 seconds. Carry on.
Sure.
Yeah, so obviously we're getting to the part that everybody wants to fucking read about, isn't it? This is a really interesting stuff. I find it all interesting, to be honest, but obviously we're getting to the you know, because we've all got that, like, we like the darker element, don't we? And this is where he really starts to get to the nitty gritty, doesn't he? And so, what they mean by a perv, what's that? Now, it is quite interesting, that, isn't it? Because he's not said that word, has he?
No. So I think when she was going back to look at the chat room, somebody must have said that word. Because she said, I'm looking at it now. And then she comes back and asks him about it.
So do you think that that's what he was pointing to? Do you think that he said that because he wanted her to read that?
He could have. There could have been, who knows what was going on in there, you know, at that time. But certainly he could have.
So when he says Shin in the lawsuit, let's try and look at his lawsuit seriously. I did try and do that once. She actually does bring up what a pervert is. So, but that's not her getting on sexual topics, is it? Because he's asking, she's asking him a question, and then that starts him on the road of this perverted behaviour.
Right, exactly. I mean, but he had already started down that road way before then.
Oh, of course.
You know?
If anything, you got to remember this is all made up by Sherry Twist. Everything, you know, whether she saw the word perv or not, you know, my guess is she probably threw it out there. But in a way, it's kind of a warning to him. In other words,
it's 5 o'clock.
Somebody wouldn't say who was talking dirty to her, the word pervert. It wouldn't be in that sentence. Somebody would describe someone who's talking dirty to her as a perv, or watch out for the pervs, things like that. So in a way, it's kind of an indirect warning to him that he just plowed right through. It doesn't matter. He doesn't see it. You know, you would think, well, where'd she hear that word? Or why did she say that to me? You know, I haven't done anything so far. But I think he had an opportunity to take that warning right there, and he didn't.
Yeah, I don't think that was a warning at all, honestly.
Well, I'm saying it could have been taken as one, though. I mean, from his perspective. I mean, somebody obviously said something to her about a pervert, so I should be on my best behavior, you would think. But it also could excite him too, in thinking that she understands the definition of that word. Well, actually, no, she's asking about it.
She's asking, yeah. So now he's trying to be like, I guess, you know, okay, I'll tell you. And so he's definitely excited. This is exactly what he wanted to get into.
Oh, yeah. He says in the lawsuit quite comically as well that decoy kept subject on sexual topics. Like, no, she didn't.
No, she didn't. Definitely not.
And then he comes out with it. In other words, that's all they want to talk about, Lorne. Know what I mean
Right.
now. K, I guess. They want to talk about it. Lol. Yep, lol. A lot, lol. Oh, he's getting really fucking excited. Do you know?
Yeah.
I think when he says this a few times at quite bizarre moments. I think he's overstimulated here because he's getting to the point. He's getting. It's the promised land for Lorne, isn't it? He thinks he's actually getting this girl where he wants her. And he says, "Be right back. Need another drink of water." And he's back in 8 seconds. He's managed to go and get a drink of water and come back in 8 seconds.
That's because he's good.
Yeah, that's right. That was fast. I'm good. Well, can you imagine if she's thinking, "Oh my God, this man can fucking get a drink of water in 8 seconds. I tell you what, I'm going to give up everything for this guy. He's clearly a winner."
I bet he didn't spill a drop.
Yeah. No, she responded in 8 seconds. He didn't.
Hold on a sec. Be right back. I need a drink of water.
Yeah, shit. I got that fucking wrong. Well,
how long did it take him then?
35 seconds. Oh, right.
35.
Forget that then.
That's not fast at all.
I'll give him that.
He took
35
credit.
seconds is
Fast.
right.
That was slow.
But I do think that that he was probably overstimulated. And then also that can give him the opportunity to get up and have her say something.
Yeah, that's
That would
true.
have given her, maybe ask more questions or at least say something. And she didn't really. So, but yeah, I think that was just an opening. Like, okay, we got the ball rolling. You wanted to know what perv was. Is there anything else you want to know? And that would have been her opportunity to do that.
You said he got all worked up when he was engaged with that Kay. They want to talk about it, LOL. And then he says, "Be right back. I need a drink of water." You think he was like really worked up? He just needed to get a drink of water. I mean, whoa, this is my heart's racing too much. Hold on a second. Let me go get some water. I mean, do you think that's a hell of a time to take a break? That's what I'm saying. He has a breakthrough right now.
Well, that's why I think it can't be a coincidence, because he says it at the point. I know we're jumping ahead, but seeing as you've done it, I'm going to do it as well. At the point where he says, "I'm in love with you," and then he immediately says, "Gotta go pee." It's like, it's just so ridiculous, like timing to say something like that. I think he gets overstimulated and has to leave.
Well, let me ask you. Amanda just asked a question. Did he have his cam on by now?
Yes, he had it on the
Yeah,
whole
because
time.
he mentions the sneezing, doesn't he, when he sneezed and
Yeah.
she saw him.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So he comes back, "Did you miss me?" Which is a good question, because he wants to gauge, obviously, if she has developed any affection for him, which when you look at it and the way that we're going through the chat log is just fucking bizarre in the extreme, that any human being could gather any fucking affection for this guy on a not comical level.
But most people would be able to interpret that the fact that she's still here when I got back means that she's interested in me, at least, or she's interested in the conversation. But of course, he's got to go to the extreme emotional level.
Yeah,
right.
he's going to keep probing,
that's what he
isn't
wants.
he?
Yeah.
He thinks he's onto a good thing here, but he's not taking it anywhere near where he wants to go. He's not clear that he's going to be able to get out of her what he wants. So obviously he's still probing, isn't he? Did you miss me? And he has to talk himself up again with the silly "I'm good because I wasn't gone very long." It's even though he's already said that.
But what's interesting? He looks like he's making headway with his discussion about the pervs and the things that they say. And then he takes a break, and this is all within 2 minutes. And he changes the subject. I mean, you kind of had it going, Lorne. What happened? Did he forget? Did he not read his archives? What's your name? I guess your name is... Okay, so he goes back to the normal small talk that people when they first meet. But he had her at perv.
Yeah, I don't know why he wouldn't have kept going immediately right there, but I think again he's having difficulty talking to her because she's not really speaking.
I think he's drunk too.
Yeah, he definitely could be.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so then this generic stuff now,
So what else are we going to talk about? I mean, it's lack of imagination. I mean, I think he's really struggling there, isn't it, for him to come out with that, because it was 20 seconds after Kayla last spoke, and all that she said is "lol," and he's kind of left it closed there, so he doesn't. His imagination is failing him. He's not that good at it. If he was that good, he'd be able to come out with interesting questions all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And all she can say is, "What's your name?" He's typing like he says it in the phone call. Lorne.
Lorne.
Yes. I'm guessing yours is Kayla. Lol. I got booted, but I'm back. Lol. Okay, lol. And it's good for him at this point, because he's getting, even though she's not saying anything, he's getting a lot of lols from her.
Yes.
He's going to make him believe that she's, like we've said, she's at least having some kind of fun. She's still here. They've been talking, how long? About an hour now?
Yeah, but let me ask, I mean, when he spelled Lorne, did he put a space between each letter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As to for what reason? I mean, I'm just curious. Is he? It's kind of like Lor. I don't understand why.
Yeah, it is a bit weird. I never really thought
Well,
of
I'm
that.
just trying to imagine what's going through his head when he does it. Well, nothing. Of course, nothing. Okay, never mind. I'm going to guess you're getting.
You answered your own question there.
Yeah, I don't understand why you put a space between each letter to spell his name. I mean, she's perfectly capable of reading, unless he wanted to say it. That's like it's almost like he was trying to spell it phonetically.
Do you not think it's because he sees his name as being slightly
Different,
not
yeah.
unusual? It's not as common. In England, nobody is called Lorne. It's just not one person.
Yeah, but you can still sound it out the way it's spelled normally without a space between it. He's almost like teaching her how to spell it.
I think it's just his way. I think he's gone through life of having to tell people a couple of times what his first name is, because when he says it in the phone call, he has to overemphasize his speech.
Lorne.
Lorne.
Yeah.
So I think because it's a slightly unusual name, he's always got to explain, go out of his way to make sure that people understand what his first name is, and I think that's what it is. I think it's just he's probably got a bit of a complex about it. I mean, it's a little bit like, with my surname, nobody, when I tell them what my surname is, not everybody knows how to spell it. So every single time I say my surname in any kind of mortgage application, or when I've been done at court for my next fucking, sexual encounter, I've got to spell my surname, It's probably the same
by the way, Duran comedy, she didn't show how stupid she was at this point about not understanding whether she had a garage or not. So I think that comes in late. Oh, that comes in a phone call, actually.
Yeah, because she coughs to not getting it wrong, doesn't she? She kind of admits she fucked up.
Yeah.
So, right. So, I guess it's hi again. Yeah. So, obviously, this is something that is, everybody knows what the crack is with this. Don't tell me your last name. Don't ever tell anybody from the internet your last name. Okay. It just comes out of nowhere, that, doesn't it?
Ever.
Yeah.
It's the first time he yells at her, though. Use capital letters, I think, right?
Right.
So he's starting to assert control by some kind of a safety or some kind of a protector method. He's trying to say, I can protect you, so don't tell anybody else. And from here on out, it gets worse. Because he talks about rape at this point, right?
Pretty soon, yeah. Because there are some real weirdos on here sometimes, and they might try to go looking for you. So he's definitely in his protector mode, the nice guy. Because she could just be some stupid kid, who's just going to give out her name.
No, this is part of his divide and conquer, to isolate her, to only him, to go invisible, to do all that stuff. Is Andrew there?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just...
Well, because we're not scrolled up. That's what I'm saying. Hell, I can go on my own. Let's see.
I lost my place. So don't ever tell them your last name.
Oh no, I've got Chris Anson here to say those lines if you don't mind.
Oh sure.
Your last name. Don't ever tell anyone from the internet your last name, okay? Okay, why? Because there are some real weirdos on here sometimes, and they might try to go looking for you. So don't ever tell them your last name, your address, your phone number, the town you live in, or the school you go to. You're one of those weirdos.
Couldn't have really said it any better than that, could we? And she She actually asks, "Are you a weirdo?"
I know.
And then he does a double lol. No.
Who would have thought that would be like? It just couldn't have gone
Nope.
any better, that chat
Are
with
we
Chris
still on?
Hansen, could it? Oh, it's so funny. But of course, just sort of coming back to this here, isn't it? Do you not think it's a bit strange when he just blurts that out? It's totally out of context with anything else.
Well, it sort of goes along with what they are talking about because they're saying the names. And then he's telling him, "Don't tell me your last name."
You're right. It shows how much I've been fucking paying attention, doesn't it? Yeah. So they're talking about, you know, what the names are, but he's sort of reiterating it. I mean, it's a quite obvious tactic of, like Chris Hansen quite rightly points out, which is why he felt the need to say it. He's just trying to make it look like that he's there for her best interests. He's just trying to establish trust. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
And he goes a step further, and he, because there are some real weirdos on here sometimes, and they might go try looking for you. So don't ever tell them. He's just like telling her what he's doing. It's quite interesting. You know, like how people like people make embedded confessions. It's kind of like that. It's like there are some real weirdos on here sometimes. It's just like, can you imagine if this went to trial?
That would have been amazing if it did. But of course he would, he would still be in prison right now because he definitely would have had the 25 years, I think, that they were looking for.
Oh, it's just so funny. Like, if I could have, like, go back in history and change any event in time, putting aside saving people's lives, it would be that Lorne pleaded not guilty and there was a trial.
Yeah.
Imagine if, like, he got, I don't know, some dodgy fucking Lionel Hutz style lawyer to defend him. Oh my god. Are you still there, Shin? Is he there?
I don't know. He didn't say he was going anywhere. I don't hear any chewing.
Yeah. I can't hear any music either. Do you reckon his neighbours have bumped him off because he was complaining about the noise?
No, I heard the music turn off, I think, a while ago.
Oh, right.
I wasn't hearing it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Are you a weirdo? Lol. No. Lol. K. K. She's so convinced, isn't she? K.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Does it sound like I am? Lol.
Okay, lol. If I was, I never would have told you never to tell anyone. He's even, like, within the space of a minute, he's even, like, telling her what his game was. He's just, he's even telling her why he said that. It's like, he's so transparent, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. I'm very happy you talked to me before anyone else, though. This way, I'll know you'll be safe. I mean, that's what. Obviously, does Chris Hansen say that as well? I think he does. Yeah, the weirdos. Yeah, they are. There's a lot of them too. Yup. Wow. Nobody's ever said anything to you about the internet. You see, isn't that interesting? Like, he thinks he's established this trust, doesn't he? It's not very sophisticated, is it? From his perspective, it is, because he thinks he's established that trust,
right?
And then pretty much straight away, nobody's ever said anything to you about the internet. So he's already trying to gauge what her kind of knowledge of her sexual experiences isn't he?
Yeah, and also how open she's going to be, about giving him her information. About possibly getting a phone number, going to meet at some point. Is she really going to be protective of herself? Has anyone ever told her how dangerous going into a chat room like that is going to be? And when she says no, he's pretty surprised by that. And it just reverts back to the whole niece type of a situation.
Yeah. So if he says wow at that point, it's probably like a genuine reaction, like he's quite happy. It's like, that. I think Shin's back.
I know.
Unless a cat's just got in the room.
Yeah.
I'm surprised your mum and dad haven't, about all the weirdos on it and what happens on it. What happens on it? Girls have given guys their information and their address and home phone number and stuff, and the guys would find them and do bad things to them. And this is something we've spoke about before, how he brings up Shin, are you there, dude?
Just got here. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We didn't know where you'd gone.
No, I get all these devices going on, and they all kind of like buffered on me, but it's cool. I think I'm up with you guys.
Okay.
Okay, so we've just got to the bit where there's not that much happen, where he's trying to establish that trust, and then we get into this bit, which is quite. I can hear an echo, dude.
I'm not. Really? I'm not doing anything. Hold on a second. Let me make sure.
I think you've got the volume from the stream on, and it's coming through the mic.
Let me make sure. Sorry about that. No, it's off. Let me make sure another one's not on. Shit, I'm really, really sorry about this. Let me see.
It's all right. I don't think it's. I think it's stopped now. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I don't hear it.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Don't worry. So, we've got to this bit here, and I remember when I went over the chat log a few times and said that is the reason that he mentions that word because that was what was on his brain. Because it's not something that you would bring up in this scenario anyway, but neither is sex. Everything that he's done so far has all been for a very sinister purpose. So does that word get mentioned? Is it simply a case of him trying to scare tactics so she'll go running into his arms? Or does he mention it because it's on that word and what he wants to do is on his brain, or is it a combination of both? What do you guys think?
Well, I think that it's just a scare tactic to say that there's people on there who want to rape her. But he doesn't see himself as a rapist. So he's not going to think of it in context of himself.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
I
that's
think
a
it's
good point. Really good point.
I think that is probably true, but I also think that it's his way of opening up the sexual discussion in a weird, fucked up way. And by the way, these warnings that he's giving, girls have given guys their information, like their address, and if you think about it, his warnings is deceptive. I mean, for the obvious reason that he's one of the weirdos, but it's deceptive because he doesn't talk about older men doing this to children. He makes it sound like they're co-equal, like it's a guy and a girl. It's he doesn't talk about the real issue being children being preyed on online by adults, because he would be thrown out. He would be blown out of the water if he said something like that. He'd be talking about himself.
It's a good point. That I've never really thought of it like that, and that's one of the good things about doing the chat log with you guys is that there's different perspectives. But does that not also go in tandem with his? I believe that he doesn't really see himself that separately from people that age. Not that he sees himself as a child, but he behaves like one. And it would, like when he said about victim number one and how he said that children can love, I think he still has that psyche of a child.
That's
true too.
He
can relate to them. He can not relate to them intellectually, but emotionally, I believe.
But I think the stories he's trying to refer to warn her about, are children who are naive to believe that, again, older men those are the stories that come to mind. But he's taken out those factors, that it's an older guy-child relationship. He's making it sound like it's just a male-female thing, you know. And when the real danger is what happens to children on this thing. Obviously, dating sites and everything else. There's some nightmares, Craigslist, and all that kind of crap. But in this situation, he knows he's talking to a child, and she's very naive about the internet as far as he knows, and that he is almost falsely warning her. You can interpret that as saying kids her age would do that, not adults, 37-year-old men, because that would expose him. Or actually, he doesn't care about hypocrisy at some point.
Well, I think what he's talking about as well is the whole stranger danger idea. Like, don't give strangers on the internet your information, like your last name, your phone number, and all that stuff. But he's going to establish himself as being different from that. He's not going to be a stranger anymore.
But the strangers are adult men, though. You know, that's the thing. He's not making a distinction between the victim's age and the perpetrator's age.
No, of course not.
You know, I mean, that's a little different. But he's trying to make it sound like that. He's trying to say, since you're new and you're a child, you should watch out for men, you know, guys, rather, he says. He doesn't say, watch out for middle-aged guys. I mean, it's kind of weird that they're talking to you. You know, if you think about it, why would they even be interested in you? What do they have in common with you? Of course, he'd blow up his whole spot if he did that.
Well, yeah,
but
why would he want
to do that? Trying to say, but he's doing it in a very superficial way that takes the suspicion off of him. Obviously, that's why he's doing the whole thing. I wouldn't tell you this if I was one of those weirdos, you know, that kind of thing. But it's really interesting. He takes the dynamic of the children being preyed on by adults on the internet, which is what he's referring to.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly what he's referring to.
And as well as like him mentioning here, rape, which is obviously a very serious thing, in any context for him to be discussing with somebody of that age, it's not, you know, even if it's someone genuinely giving out advice, you wouldn't go into detail about that. And he even has to go one step further and talk about murder. So as far as scare tactics go, it's as extreme as he can get. It's like he'll do anything to get it where he wants to. You know, he's mentioned that girls get sexually abused and killed, and he's really trying to shit her up, basically, and make her think that, you know, it's kind of like it's a sophisticated tactics, but they're not that clever. They're not original. It's not anything new. He's not. There's no grand master plan that's foolproof here. You know, if there was a real girl, they'd be onto him in a second. You know, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'd love to know how many times he's tried this.
You're right. West made a good point. So did Arodo. He says he's using the word. First of all, Arodo says using the word rape as a way of leaking his truth, which is true. But he also mentions killing too, which I don't think he would do. So, you know, I think he embellishes on that. And West says that the strangers are anyone else other than Lorne. And if you think about it, that actually makes more sense, because Derek, who's a kid, is anyone else, you know, later on down the line. Sorry about the spoiler alert.
Oh, of course.
And it's all about, again, the attention doesn't want her in the chat rooms where she would be available to other boys or men. That's Wes, I think you nailed it.
I agree with Tiffany about the rape thing, though. I don't think it's on his brain, because I don't think he thinks rape is a guy forcing himself upon someone physically. Now, although by the law, of course, he's committing statutory. You know, I don't like saying that word too often in case the stream gets cut off. But I don't. Even though he knows it's wrong, even though he knows he's a shit, even though he's doing terrible things, he doesn't see himself as a serial. That word. He doesn't think that for instance, he said him and victim number one liked each other.
Yeah.
He didn't think he was doing anything specific. He knew it was wrong, but he didn't. He justified it in his own way and thought, "Well, it's fine. We like each other," and he justified it that way. So I don't think he sees himself as being evil. He doesn't see himself as being a bad guy. I think half of this shit, when he's going on about protecting, I think it's part of him that kind of believes it. He thinks that she'll be safe with him, even though he wants to do things with her.
No, I think in COD We Trust says I think he's in the early stages of control here, and I think that's what it's all about completely.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's scare tactics. Of course, it's control. He wants her. He wants her in a position where the only person that that she trusts is him.
Definitely.
And then
he wants to be able to rely on. He wants her to rely on him.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, and
because he's insecure, and his insecurities come out at numerous points, all over this chat log, all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he wants ultimate control over her, and he isn't just him getting his way with her. He wants. There is parts in this chat log where he sees this romantic endeavour going on. It's fucking weird. And equally amusing. Now, I think we're going to have to wrap it up here. We've been going approximately 2 hours. So usually I'll keep these to about an hour and a half, but we're getting to the really. We've done 3
At the rate
videos
we're going,
sorry?
we're going to have to leave this to another generation by the time we get to page 35.
Oh man, when we start getting past this bit, we're going to have to start selecting various parts of the chat, because otherwise, because it's very
repetitive. There's nothing to examine, really.
Future generations of Lornographers. So you're anticipating in 20 years' time, when we can barely type on a keyboard, there's going to be like people doing these type of videos.
Oh man!
Let's fucking hope not.
Thanks everybody for putting this together. Oh, by the way, can I just say, Aerodo? I mentioned this in a comment in someone else's stream, but Aerodo said one of the most nicest comments I've ever seen to somebody who was struggling in one of our videos. It was in the comment section with an opioid addiction. I just wanted to thank her for that. I thought that was so sweet and so special and so helpful to him. And I just want to give you a shout out for that.
Oh, cool! I must have missed that. Which stream was that?
I think it was our second to last one when we first did this. But somebody was suffering, and Aerodo was not only extremely compassionate and intelligent, but she offered some very, very good advice, and it was just loving. I just loved to see it. It was great.
That's brilliant, and I kind of
hearts for Aerodo.
Sorry?
I said hearts for Aerodo. If people want to put roses in there, that's great.
Yeah, people are doing that already, and the good thing about these is, we
She's
enjoy
awesome.
talking about, the chat log and that, but it's good that people can interact and talk with us, and we're going through it together, really, because we're, it's not just us prattling on, although we are sort of doing the stream. Everybody's getting involved, and we've all got things to say about the chat log, and we all find it interesting for different reasons. And it's ironic that we've been through it so many times, but yet I feel we're finding different perspectives and different insights about it. And I just thought I'd do a sneak preview into what we're going to be talking about soon. So, as you can see there, guys, dirty messages. Do you have a crush on me? Blah blah. It's going to get pretty good soon. Not that it isn't anyway, because it's we've had this stuff's pretty big stuff here, things like that. But the most obscene parts, which is obviously the most graphic parts, the most hard hitting, we haven't got to it all yet. There's a lot of really good stuff that we're going to be talking about soon. That I'm sure that we've all got some interesting opinions on. So. Any closing comments from you guys?
No, thanks for joining us. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, that
on.
was awesome, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting up with some of. Well, actually, it was all my fault.
You mean
thanks for putting up with me?
you, Shin, and your chewing and internet bizarre mishaps
Weird
and
stuff. That salsa music playing upstairs. Yeah, I didn't really get us off to a good start. Really sorry, guys.
But no, dude, it wouldn't be the same without you. It's been a lot of fun, and if us putting up with the odd bit of music and bizarre, never-ending echoes that sound like a magic mushroom trip are what we have to put up with for your company, then we will do it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
So, Tiffany, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And Shin, despite your ever intrusive, obstructive, bizarre happenings and chewings and whatnot, thank you so much for being here, dude. It wouldn't be the same without you.
You're very welcome.
And guys in the chat, I hope you're doing all right at the minute, because it's pretty fucking weird here in England at the minute. Everybody's getting a bit pissed off with this lockdown stuff. So pretty much all we're getting over here now are Facebook live streams and people scrapping in the streets and stuff. It's not quite anarchy yet, but I can see a little bit of a sea change, which is why I'm putting a little bit more videos out than I usually do, because I've got more spare time on my hands now. But it's good to delve into these things every so often. It's good to interact with everybody. It's good to talk to my friends, and it's good to go over one of my most favourite things in the world, which is this fucking chat log, and we will continue to do so until we get bored of it. Are you guys, just very quickly, are you guys enjoying doing this? Because I am.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, are you asking the people? What about you guys? Is this kind of I'm just curious. Does the community like us doing this in depth, word by word, mini-syllable by mini-syllable?
Yeah.
Keep them coming.
Letter. We're even analysing like one letter, aren't we?
We are. And space bars.
What does she mean by that? Oh, I think we spent a full minute talking about one letter.
Yeah. Well, we talked about a space bar too. I mean,
that's true. So we even spoke about nothing.
Yeah.
We literally spoke about nothing.
We got nothing done, folks. We got nothing done. Sorry.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I think people are enjoying it, and we're enjoying it. So there's certainly no reason to stop anytime soon. So we will be back next week. I was thinking we may do part 4, but I've got another idea for something obviously related to Lorne that I might that we might discuss. So there will be another stream next Sunday, roughly the same time, about our favourite predator, or most people's favourite predator. So I know it's weird, isn't it, saying that? But yeah, so guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope to hear from you all soon. So take it easy, and we'll speak to you soon.
Sure.